Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Waharakah Kadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I honor to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Now, recently the spotlight has been put on the Israeli state, which is feigning itself to be a restoration of the nation of Israel, which is mentioned and spoken of in Bible prophecy. And that's not the case. Okay, the Israeli state is just that. It's the Israeli state. It's not the Israel of the Bible and never will be. All right. And the fact of the matter is that every element pretty much of the Israeli state is not according to the righteousness of the Most High. All right, because the Lord is not the one according to his right hand who set up that Israeli state. All right, the government that's going to be set up, the nations that's going to be set up, the kingdom of heaven, New Jerusalem, is going to be in accordance with the righteous will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what that's going to look like, focusing in really on the government, but we're going to speak a little bit about laws and things and general society. All right, now first things first, I suppose we got to talk with the people. When the nation of Israel is set up, all Israelites are going to be of the same mind. Okay, right. So if we go into Ezekiel the 37th chapter and we read about, the nation of Israel coming back together. All right, let's start from verse 21. It says, "And say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel." So the 12 tribes of Israel are going to operate as one. That means unity, right? Yes, we are going to be different tribes, different clans, different families, but we shall operate as one, meaning we have one mind, because we're going to have one king, one law. In fact, there's a good scripture that right, this is Ephesians 4:4. It says, "There is one body and one spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all." All right, and we can also jump down, because this ministry is the beginning of forming that nation, and more to the point, that government. Right, Ephesians 4:12, "For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Yahushai, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Hamashiach, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and the cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive," which is what this modern day politics is all about. Manipulating the people. And that's why it's all confusion. Right? The unity that we're going to be under is a unity of spirit, a unity of faith, a unity of knowledge, wisdom, understanding. There's not going to be a diverse policy, diverse politics, as you have in this world today, and especially in the state of Israel, right? Which brings nothing but evil, wickedness, corruption. All right, it's not going to be necessary, because we're going to be one people with one king, with one doctrine, one faith that we all share. one law, one interpretation of that law, one judgment of that law. You understand? You go to the state of Israel today and they have a Knesset. All right. So the Knesset, it says the Knesset is the unicameral legislature of Israel. All right. So legislator meaning they're responsible for making the laws, right? And their laws are not based upon the laws of God. See, in the kingdom of heaven, we're not going to be making new laws according to our own will. We already have a righteous law, right? As a supreme state body, the Knesset is sovereign and thus has total control of the entirety of the Israeli government, with the exception of checks and balances from the courts and local governments. All right, so they split everything up. In the kingdom of heaven, it's not going to be split up. As I'm going to show you, it's just going to be the 144,000 men of 12,000 of each tribe, and they're going to form the governments over the people. All right, there ain't going to be no political parties, no need for this different entity and that different entity. No, because all those men will have, as they have their courts, as a judge over other men. Right? You see there in their Knesset, they got 120 seats. Where's that in the scriptures? Right? And these are the various political parties that hold seats. One of those parties is the religious Zionists. They only hold 7 seats. And the damn nation was founded on the Zionism. Crazy, huh? All right. Ridiculous amounts of political parties. This is all division. All right. One interesting thing I saw was the public perception, which we're going to get scriptures on this. This is a poll conducted by the Israeli Democracy Institute in April and May 2014 showed that while a majority of both so-called JOOs and Arabs in so-called Israel are proud to be citizens of the country, both groups share a distrust of Israel's government, and rightfully so, because all these governments are corrupt. But the government that the Lord reestablishes in Israel is not going to be corrupt. It's not going to be based on corruption, the corruption of man. It's going to be a perfect government. And that proves that 1948 isn't a fulfillment of the restoration of the nation of Israel. The Lord isn't restoring Israel to corruption. What kind of madness is this? Right? Distrust of Israel's government, including the Knesset. So they distrust the government and the Knesset. Almost 3/4 of Israelis surveyed said corruption in Israel's political leadership was either widespread or somewhat prevalent. This is madness. So even the people know that the government and the Knesset are corrupt. These aren't shepherds. These aren't the shepherds that the Lord is going to set up over his people. What kind of... Yo, this is crazy. This is supposed to be the restoration? Yeah. It says a majority of both Arabs and JOOs trusted the Israel Defense Forces, the President of Israel, and the Supreme Court of Israel, but JOOs and Arabs reported similar levels of mistrust, with little more than a third of each group claiming confidence in the Knesset. So the whole thing is a mess, right? And let me show you something about the law, because the whole purpose of the government is to uphold and judge, yeah, but by what? By the law. That's why the scriptures tell you that the king of Israel was supposed to what? Be meditating in the law of the Most High. Now, what law did they institute over there in the Israeli state? Well, let's read it. Israeli law is based, or should I say, is not really law, is based mostly on a common law legal system, though it also reflects diverse history of the territory of the state of Israel through the last 100 years, which was at various times prior to independence under Ottoman, then British sovereignty, as well as the legal systems of its major religious communities. Notice it says religious communities, because even when it comes to religion, not only are the people over there in the so-called Israeli state divided by religion, but I mean by politics, they're also divided by religion. So it's a mess. And it's like that throughout the West. Throughout the West, the people are completely divided along so many different lines. They're divided even like I said, if you go into politics in the UK, the two major parties, Labour and Conservative, even within the supporters of Labour, there's confusion, because you got people in the Labour Party who are so-called Christian and ethnic minority, and the religious ethnic minorities like the Muslims and the Christians that have ethnic background don't like LGBT, but the Labour also represents LGBT, so there's confusion there, right? That's why they struggle, these political parties, and it's all confusing, and they struggle to get majority votes. And a lot of people don't even vote because they don't know who to vote for. Why? Because there's not really even a political party that might satisfy their beliefs, because everyone believes different things. They have all different policies. That's confusion. And the Lord is not the author of confusion. And a city or a nation built upon confusion. I mean, come on. Yeah? I don't need to tell you where that's heading. As well as the legal systems of its major religious communities, the Israeli legal system is based on common law, which also incorporates facets of civil law. So let's get straight to the point. History. Is that? Uh, do I need the history? Where is it? Oh, okay, no, it's this bit. So, foreign and historical influences on modern day Israeli law are varied and include the Mesel, which is the civil code of the Ottoman Empire, the German civil law, religious law, Jewish halakha, and Muslim Sharia, most pertaining in the area of family law, and British common law. The Israeli courts have been influenced in recent years by American law and Canadian law, and to a lesser extent continental law, mostly from Germany. All right, this is madness. This is madness. So this is what the Lord was set up. Come on, man, stop it. All right, let's go to Isaiah. Back into Ezekiel. Ezekiel 37. Yeah, so we're supposed to be unified as a people. All right, true unity, one in spirit, one in knowledge, understanding, wisdom, law, policy, one political party, which is the people. Yeah, not all these different political parties and all this madness, man. It's madness, right? I'll make the one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel and one king. So first and foremost, our government is monarchical, meaning there's a king. There's not no president. There's not no prime minister. A king. All right. Now the way they got it set up, I'm gonna show you actually. It's not no monarchy. It's some fake democracy.
Israeli politics is all about where you sit in this room. This is the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, the legislative branch of the government. And of the 120 seats here below me, the most important seat is right at the center of that U. That's the prime minister's seat. But it's all the seats around that one that determine who gets to sit there. Here in Israel, voters don't pick a particular politician. Instead, they vote for a political party but no one party will win an outright majority. In fact, the most successful party in the upcoming elections may win as few as 25 seats, less than a quarter. So what happens here is that right after the elections, all of the political parties meet with the president, and they tell the president, this is who we want for prime minister. This is who we'd like to work with in the upcoming government. That person then has a chance to put together a coalition government, to put together a majority of the seats here through political wheeling and dealing and trading political favors.
Yeah, bribes, yeah, political favors, yeah. This is what it's supposed to be about, righteousness.
Support. Because of the way this works, winning the most seats doesn't guarantee that you're the next prime minister if you can't make the right deals. Now, technically, 61 seats is enough here in the Knesset, but most prime ministers want more than that. They want a coalition of 65 or 66 seats just so they have a more secure administration. Oftentimes in Israeli politics, it can come down to one or two of the smaller parties in the upcoming election to decide which way the election goes. Because they can sometimes have that influence, these smaller...
That's pretty much how it is mostly over most of the Western world right now. Like there's rarely a party that actually is dominant anymore. It's a lot of hung parliaments, man, and then people make little deals and whatever. Place is finished, man. All right, but you see the point on that. We ain't gonna have all that. That's madness. That give you a headache. All right. It says we're gonna have one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two. In fact, hold on. Let me get a scripture. There be set thrones. Right? Thrones. That's what the Lord's setting up. Psalms 122 and 5. For there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Yeah, the Knesset ain't the house of David, man. You know? So let's jump back to Ezekiel 37, right? And there shall be no more two nations. That could be know that the nation of Israel was split. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms more at all. Neither shall they devour themselves anymore with their idols. So all these different religious entities that exist within the state of Israel ain't supposed to exist, because we're going to be one. We're going unity, and we're going to worship our power. One Lord, one Father. Right? Nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. So when the Lord restores the nation of Israel, there's not going to be no breaking of the law. The law of the Heavenly Father is going to be established in the land among the people, and nobody's going to be breaking it, because we're going to be on top of that, we're going to be under the new covenant. All right, the laws are going to be written in our inward parts. Now that ain't happened to those people over there. Yeah. But I will save them out of their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. All right, that's the blood of Yahushua cleansing. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. And that's repeated in Revelation, the 21st chapter. And David, David, my servant, shall be king over them. So the Lord's bringing, when the Lord restores the kingdom, he bringing back King David to rule at the head of the government. Because the head of the government is going to be David and the rest of the 12. And then beneath the 12 is the rest of the 144,000 men that are set up over the tribes. Right? And they shall all have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and to do them. So there's only going to be one politics. There's going to be one policy. Because what does the word politics mean? It means policy. What is your policy? Well, how do you operate? What is your judgment on this or your judgment on that? Well, if you got various political parties, it's because they all have different policy, different beliefs, different statutes, different laws that they want to pass. Well, it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be the Most High's judgments and the Most High's statutes. That is the one policy, one political party. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. And that's Revelation 21. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Is the tabernacle of the Lord with them people over there? Come on. Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify. Sanctify mean make holy. What's holy about the state of Israel? There's nothing holy. There's nothing separating them from any other Western state. Yes, I know they're in the Middle East, but it's a Western state. It was formed by Westerners that migrated over there and built basically a Western colony in the Middle East. That's what it is. I don't care how much olive oil they eat. Like, they're Westerners. They got Western politics, Western systems, a Western way of doing everything. They got Western weapons. Yeah? And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So when the Lord restores the nation of Israel, the nation of Israel is going to be sanctified by the Lord. And it's going to be obvious. These people are not sanctified by the Lord. Come on, stop it. These people are in the desert half naked, having parties, listening to devil music. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? All right. Now, let's go to another scripture which speaks about that government. All right. Because you see, we had governments before, and those governments were wicked and corrupt. They that lead the cause thee to go astray. And the Lord constantly was cursing out those wicked governments. And that's why we fell. So what, do you think the Lord's coming to set back up more wicked government, man? Right? We already had the whole thing of corruption and people taking bribes and judging for money. That's in the scriptures, man. Hold on. This is Micah 3:11. It says, the heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean on the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil shall come upon us. So we ourselves, we're no strangers to corrupt rulers and corrupt judges and priests. But the Lord is gonna do away with all that, man. And so when he restores the kingdom, it's not gonna be corrupt judges, man. Good shepherds over the flock, right? All right, Jeremiah 23. Let's get this. See, this is eschatology that vocab say he don't want to deal with, man. Jeremiah 23 and 3. Let's just hit straight from the point. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them. So it's the same as what we're reading in Ezekiel 37. It's the same event. The same event is prophesied throughout the scriptures, okay? This is the restoration of the nation, yeah? And what they trying to say happened in 1948, which is madness. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds. What's the folds? The various tribal inheritances, because we're gonna go back. That's another thing. Over there in the Israeli state, the property laws and all that, that ain't how the Most High set it up. The Lord set up Joshua and he divided the land up between all the tribes. And the big family's got a big lot and the small family got a small lot. That's how the land over there is supposed to be divided by tribe. But where's the land of Gad? Where's the land of Benjamin? It's not there because it's just another hold on. In fact, let me show you. So as you can see here, right? These are the districts. This is how they've divided the Israeli state. All right, into districts. Jerusalem district, the northern district, the Haifa district, central district, Tel Aviv. That's not how the land is supposed to be divided. The land is supposed to be divided according to the tribes. Right? And even down to land ownership in Israel, it's not by a loyal title, it's by leasehold, which is against the scriptures. All the families of Israel are supposed to hold allodial titles. Right, so if you go to it, it says Israeli land and property laws. It says land and property laws in Israel are property law component of Israeli law, providing the legal framework for ownership and other in rem rights towards all the forms of property in Israel, including real estate and movable property, besides tangible property, blah, 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 blah. Now, if we go down, Right. So the ILA is who really has most of the law, the land, I should say. So the use of land in Israel usually means leasing rights from the ILA for a period of 49 to 98 years. Under Israeli law, the ILA cannot lease land to foreign nationals, which includes Palestinian residents of Jerusalem who have identity cards but are not citizens of Israel. In practice, blah, 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 blah. Like, so the majority of people, they don't own any real land. Even Israelis don't actually own the land. They've got the land on the lease, right? Which is BS. We're supposed to really have um what's it called? A loyal title. Let's get that meaning, a loyal title. That's what the Lord intends us to have. A loyal title constitutes the ownership of real property, land, buildings, and fixtures that is independent of any superior landlord. Because ultimately the Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. All right. The government or no king or no one is supposed to be a superior landlord to another. Each Israelite family is supposed to hold the allodial title to their inheritance. All right. Not be leased and have to renew the lease and then everything else that comes with that. All right. Oh, shit, okay. It's getting late in the afternoon. Anyway, it says, and I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds. All right. These shepherds represent who? That government. The 144,000, beginning with the 12, which begins with Peter, or as you might know him as David. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them. Because what is the purpose of the government? To feed the people, to lead the people in a way which is right and correct. All right. Shepherds. Now, them politicians, they're not shepherds. They're hirelings, man. They're set up to rob and steal for themselves and do the bidding of the international bankers, to do the bidding of the elites. They're corrupt. They don't care about the people, and that's why you got nothing but protests going on over there in the Israeli state and the history of corruption. And I want to read this, but remember that these people in the Israeli state, they're not just protesting because of Benjamin Netanyahu and not a real Jew, sorry, and the rest of these guys. Okay, it's also because of the policies that they institute are hurting the people. For the same protests that are happening in America and in France and in Germany, because the people are basically under pressure. The same things are happening over there in the state of Israel. Average everyday Israelis feel disenfranchised in one way or another with the way that the society is and the inequalities that exist and the injustices. All right, but look at this. Like, this is like Article 5 corruption scandals that rocked Israel. Now, do I really need to read it? Look at these guys, man. This shouldn't be happening because the Lord said He gonna be setting up shepherds. Are these the shepherds He's talking about? Come on, man. Behave, man. Behave. All right. He says, I will set up shepherds over them which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more. They're not gonna need to fear, and nor be dismayed, neither shall be lacking, said there. The reason there's protests. Hold on.
Demonstrators in Tel Aviv blocked a highway linking Israel's economic center to Jerusalem earlier today, protesting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's planned changes to the Supreme Court. Now, police used water cannons.
I mean, come on, man. And it's not just that. There's been all kinds of protests. Over the years. I don't want to go just into that protest.
Growing turmoil in the country's political turmoil rapidly deepening.
Netanyahu removing Yoav Gallant, a member of his own Likud party, after Gallant called for a pause in the government's controversial.
I mean, you got austerity. Oh, man, I can't even. It's the link is just full up of flipping what happened 6 months ago, and now I can't be bothered. But you go back and you can search, you can find. There's always been protests and all kind of crazy shit happening over there because of the way things are going. But that shouldn't be happening. The people shouldn't be protesting at all. There shouldn't be no complaining in the streets, pursuant to Psalms 144. Yeah? Neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. And in his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is the name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. And that's the Messiah. All right. Also, let's get ye 12 shall sit 12 thrones. Let's get that. And Yahweh said unto them, because this is the same Messiah that he was talking about. Verily I say unto you that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, why is there 12 thrones? Because there's 12 tribes. Now, in addition to that, all right, you got the 174,000, which the 12 are included in that number. All right, the government. This is Revelation 7 and 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed. There were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Now, why just 144,000? That's 12,000 from each tribe, right? And that represents the backbone, the government, the patriarchal government of the nation of Israel, of New Jerusalem. Where was that in 1948? And they're all men, by the way, because according to the law, according to doctrine, it's a patriarchal system. The Bible tells you women are not supposed to usurp authority over a man. You can't. If a man is the head of a house, then how the hell can the woman be the head of anything when she can't even be the head of a house? But again, if you go over there to the Israeli state, they got women in the government. 25% of the Knesset is women. Right? It says in Europe, the average is 26.5. Yeah, because there is a European place. And that's going off. The head of the woman is the man. And the head of the man is Hamashiach. The head of Hamashiach is the Most High. That's the order. All right? So their government is not a government which has been set up and restored by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, because they're not the people, man. All right? There's a way our government is going to be, and the government is going to bring forth the law. It's going to bring forth the law not only among us, but among the entire world. Right? Isaiah 2:2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house, that mountain represents the government, the 144,000, right, shall be established in the top of the mountain. So that government is going to be exalted above all other governments, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, because we only going to have one way, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Do you see that? No, they don't even have the law and the word within them because it's a secular society, right? Right. This is secularism in Israel. Secularism shows how matters of religion and how matters of state are related with Israel. Secularism is defined as an indifference to, rejection, or exclusion of religion and religious consideration. In Israel, this applies to the entire secular community that identifies with no religion and the secular community within the Jewish community. When Israel was established as a new state in 1948, a new and different Jewish identity formed for the newly created Israeli nation or population. This population was defined by the Israeli culture and so-called Hebrew language. They don't really speak the proper Hebrew. Their experience with the big lie, and the need to band together against conflict with hostile neighbors in the Middle East, right? And there's an extremely secular nature to the Israeli state. Hold on. Right, so this is a document from Harvard University, right? It says, going by the usual telling of the founding, religious and secular Jews clashed over whether Israel's declaration should evoke God's covenant promise. How accurate is that account? And let's just get straight to the bottom line. One of the things that... Hold on, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Right. The question of religion then wasn't resolved by the Declaration of Independence. Rather, it was finessed. And these people are always just scheming and lying, man. And Ben Gurion could finesse it largely because 5 Arab armies were about to invade the country. But if it would be a stretch to say that the declaration represented a consensus, it would be another stretch to say that it split the difference between secular and religious perspectives. Indeed, and I told you, there's the issue. They're not one people. It is hard to describe the declaration in the balance as anything other than a secular document. Its peculiar omissions and emphases, especially in the later stage of drafting, reflected the sensibilities of the secular drafters. So it was drafted by secular men. Thus, the claim of the Jews to the land is based on history and natural right, not on divine promise. Similarly, Judaism is conceived as something the Jews invented themselves and not during a mythic trek in the desert where God appeared to them, but in the land of Israel. Finally, the only promises worth anything in the present were not made by God, but by Lord Balfour and the United Nations. As a result, the semantic struggles over Tir Yisrael, such as it was, came down to the minimal concession that would be required in order to secure the signatures of the religious believers. In the end, Ben Gurion managed to put everyone's signature on the parchment just before the Sabbath came in. Later on, however, religion, more than any other issue, would make it impossible to compose a constitution for Israel. The declaration, which would have moved Israel closer to a future constitution, instead simply reflected the balance of forces at that moment in time. Nor would the religious factions, because that's all they are, they're factions, being then at a disadvantage, have had any interest in translating the declaration into a constitution certain to incorporate the same set of preferences. In the exhausted aftermath of the War of Independence, there was no impotence to draft a constitution, and there is none to this day. All right. So it's a secular society, man. All right. But there are some concessions made to those so-called Jewish people who may follow Judaism. But it's not a society that is following Judaism. It's a secular society. All right. This is a good document to go and read because they're breaking it down for you. All right. It's all BS and confusion, man. All right. It's a good ass document. All right. But the point is, I think I've made the point. The point is that the government that the Lord is restoring and set up, the real Israelites, man, it's going to be a pure government without all this corruption and division and confusion. And that's not what you got over there. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.